Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us as we get ever closer to March Town Meeting Day. And we're talking Swanton Town issues today with two key people. Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator, Joel Clark, the Swanton Town Select Board Chairman. Good to see you folks. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Well, you've dealt with, I guess we've all dealt with a lot of town meetings. I just kind of get the sense that it fades a little more every year. Am I being too harsh? I mean, turnouts are so discouraging, and even a couple of contested races in Swanton, we even get, what do you think, 20%, 25% turnout? Is that maybe even stretching it or not?
Well, it would be big if it was 25%.
Is that 25 would be, isn't that's so
terrible.
sad. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Just a few minutes ago before leaving, the town clerk, Kathy Fournier, asked me, she said, "You think we're going to have a big turnout?" So, well, there's two contested races, but who knows? I said, I would be lucky probably to get 25
I
at
should
the
know.
most.
And Kathy's running unopposed for
Right,
another
yeah.
3-year term for
Yep.
clerk treasurer. And I should mention right away the two contested select board races, and I'm hoping to interview the candidates for a 2-year term. That is a 3-year term. Incumbent Steve Bourgeois being challenged by Ron Underwood. And for the 2-year term, incumbent Nicole Draper being challenged by Josh Aldred. So, so there's definitely some activity.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Back to your earlier comment about the information meeting.
Yeah.
It is too bad that we
No.
can't pack a room because it's
Right.
both the village and the town.
Right.
Right.
And there's things that people should be aware of before heading in and making a vote.
Yeah.
Even if it's a low turnout, you still should come get some more information.
Yeah. So does it just seem to be keep fading away? Town meeting day.
Well, that
Of course, I've been
informational
around long
meeting,
enough. I
yeah.
remember with Ted Tyler kind of in command when it was the good old town
The good
meetings
old,
with
yeah.
discussion and stuff.
Right.
The information meeting is, which is coming up on Monday evening.
Yeah.
If you back out the town and village officials and members of the fire department may be there, the rescue squad, the police chief, you back those people out, members of the general public, you're probably less than 10.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I covered a
And-
bunch of these over the years. Yeah, it's got to be very discouraging.
But I think in that it's all-day balloting, we have better turnout
Sure.
voting.
Sure, that's
than
always the
we
thing.
did. So, you know,
Yeah, last year
that's
I've
still
been
not
covering
great.
the Highgate, the traditional town meeting for decades, only to have Highgate vote to go all Australian
Right.
ballots. I ended up in Franklin last year,
Yeah.
and it was pretty cool. I got a
Meal
pretty
and
good feel
everything,
for
right?
what's going on in the town of Franklin. I talked to Representative LaRoche. He was there. Anyway, we've got kind of some of the regular issues, but maybe go right to the LOT issue on the ballot, the local option tax. Joe, was that unanimous? Was select board, were you all wanting to put that on the ballot? Do you support that?
Oh, absolutely. It was unanimous. The select board sees this as a great opportunity
Yeah.
to have a source to, and we put it right in the, right on the ballot, that it would be used for capital reserve and capital improvement. So
Yeah.
it's not money that can be used for anything other than that. There's a lot of different projects over the next couple decades that we could do without additional taxing of the taxpayer. If the local option tax is a good way to get that revenue. I know people don't like the TAX part of it,
Sure.
but at 1%, it's a very low impact on their budget. Other people visiting would be paying that local option tax.
Yeah.
If you take a look at St. Albans and what they've been able to do, and other places in Chittenden County with local option tax, it gives us a lot of potential, and all the board members are behind it, and we're encouraging people to reach out to others and talk to them about it. We've had 2 public hearings, and you talk about low attendance. The first one, a handful of people showed up. Most were in favor of it, which was very good to hear. But the second meeting, very little turnout.
Yeah, that's discouraging. Yeah, St. Albans Town, of course, which you mentioned, I guess, comes right to mind, funding their town hall, public works garage with LOT money.
Yes.
And as you said, Joel, some of that money is from folks obviously who don't live in Swanton. Any rough idea what the breakdown is for where that tax money comes from people in the town and out of the town?
Yeah,
Guess that'd
unfortunately,
be hard to nail down.
that's difficult.
That'd be tough.
the tax department will not give out specific
Oh,
numbers
really?
as far as which businesses are getting what.
Yeah.
So it's, but we do have a fair amount of people that come through the town that are definitely traveling through. They
Yeah.
stop and get something.
Yeah.
And so I say there's a good amount that, probably a healthy amount that comes from out of town.
Yeah.
And there was concerns that maybe people wouldn't shop in Swanton to come from in, but all, as I mentioned, that the towns around us, St. Albans City and St. Albans Town have got it.
Yeah.
The rate is no higher than the sales tax in New York. And then, of course, the winner in the sales tax category is north of the border at 15%.
Oh.
Because I did the research and brought that up at the first public hearing.
Yeah.
So they're still getting a bargain. So
Yeah.
I think it's the fairest way with which to, fairest way, least amount of impact to
Yeah.
get additional revenue.
And of course, the state, I assume, loves it when towns do that, because the state used to get, what, 1/3? Are they down to
One-third,
a
now
quarter
they get
now?
a quarter.
Quarter.
Yeah, quarter.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Helps fund their payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
But we have several businesses
Yeah.
that people patronize that are from out of Swanton, so they would be,
Yeah.
contributing, and
Yeah.
it's, again, minimal impact on the Swanton residents as far as what it would be per year to
Yeah.
an individual.
And the take would be, you got rough figures on Brian, Joel,
Well,
and,
we didn't get exact figures because the 2025 numbers are not out there, but
Yeah.
we'd be looking at probably a net to the town, because we'll have a sharing agreement with the village.
Yeah.
But a net to the town, probably around 250
wow,
per year.
wow,
And, the first year, of course, will be less because
Right.
it's not going to start until probably July 1st at the earliest.
yeah,
And, but then a full calendar year, that's what we're expecting, so we'll see.
and again, it sounds like you reached agreement with the village pretty
Yes.
easily,
Right,
roughly
yeah,
about
yeah.
3/4 to the town and roughly about 1/4 to the
Right,
village?
Yeah, the same
Yes.
formula.
Yeah.
Right,
We've had-
based on the grand list.
Grand list.
It's the
Yeah.
way that the fire department's funded, and
Yeah.
that was the agreement.
Yep.
Otherwise, you could look at the village trying to implement, the town trying to implement, and that just creates other issues. So, working very well with the village trustees, couple meetings discussing it, and this gets approved on voting day, then we will sit down and write up a agreement between the two and make it all
Right.
formal and get it started.
I think you said, is there a bill in the legislature dealing with
There was a
this too?
bill in the legislature to cement the fact that town and villages can come up with a plan.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where that stands at this point. I know that Representative Walker had given his introductory testimony
yeah,
a couple of weeks ago to House Ways and Means. I've spoken to Representative Brannigan, who sits on the House Ways and Means, and that was quite a while ago, but she agreed it made no sense to have separate town-village taxes for that, so
yeah.
I'm not sure where that stands, but we'll
And
try
is that,
this.
is that bill a key? Does that bill need to be passed? if-
No, we're gonna do this, we'll try this without it, but
Okay.
we'll see,
We're moving ahead.
we're moving ahead,
Yeah.
we're going ahead.
And the hope is if it's passed, July 1 would be the earliest it would go into
That'd probably
effect?
be the earliest,
Yeah.
yeah.
State requires about a 3-month period
to
to
get-
work with the vendors and
Oh,
get
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
set up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then depending upon how many towns pass this year,
Yeah.
they have, they can put somebody on hold and they take them in the order, I don't know how alphabetical or however they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But it would be, the earliest would be July 1st.
Anybody else in Franklin County? I guess I haven't heard of any other town. I think I'm hearing Milton is, maybe
Milton
have
has, I
LLT.
heard that today, but I
Yeah.
have not heard of anybody in Franklin County
No,
that's
I
thinking of
haven't.
it,
Yeah,
putting it on the ballot.
that's a big issue. With regular budget items, how'd to do with your budget for the next year?
We think we did very well.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the highway and the general budgets, we'll start with the highway.
Yeah,
The highway is comprised of, I'm gonna say the total highway budget has both the fire and the police added to it, because that one is paid for by the people just in the town. And overall, a slight decrease for the tax rate. So that's a positive. And then for the general budget, which includes the rescue and the rec, they too are gonna see a slight decrease in their numbers as far as the tax rate. Overall, their budget went up slightly. They had some carryovers, so the tax rate itself is gonna have a slight decrease. So we are pretty happy with the budgets that we were putting forward. Unfortunately, we don't have the definite on what's happening with the school tax.
Right.
So it's hard to talk to somebody and say, if you own a $250,000 house,
Yeah.
this is what your tax bill is gonna be. We can tell them what the impact of our highway and our general are, but.
And I'm sure you make the point. I'm sure you'd like people to know, as most people do, some people, that about a tax bill, about 3/4 is on the education side, 1/4 on the municipal side, roughly.
Yeah, so I see it if it's 6%. If we hold our own where there's very little increase, it's still gonna be a 4 to 5% increase overall for the property owner, and that's too much. Every year, sustaining that kind of increase is, it's an affordability issue that we hear about more and more every year.
I bet.
And we have no, I mean, it's really, on the education side, it's never final until it's done in Montpelier,
Yeah.
which is, as you know, in May, maybe even later, who
Yeah.
knows? And so it's really hard to even, I don't see how the school districts can really,
Right.
they can guesstimate, but you never know what's going to happen down in Montpelier.
Yeah.
And so it's
Brian, you
difficult.
logged a lot of years down there, and I had Casey Tooth, the St. Albans
Yeah.
town manager, former rep, had I think a lot to do with Act 73.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him today, "You think they're gonna pull this off?" And he said, "Well, you got Republican, Democratic leadership and the governor, of course, but boy, it just sounds like a tough issue. Do you think they'll finally hammer something out or hammer this out?"
Well, eventually, I mean, they're going to have to at some
Gotta
point.
do something,
They got to
yeah.
do something. This
Yeah.
is not sustainable. It's the number of kids are going down all the time, but the
As
cost
expenses keep going up. Yeah.
So it's something has got to be done.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They should.
We'll see.
From what we've
buckle
gathered so
down.
far, we don't expect any.
Nothing this
Big
year.
tier changes
I don't
this
think
year.
anything this year.
No.
But
And of course, between sessions here with, they had the redistricting task force or
Right.
whatever, and didn't exactly come back with what the governor was looking for, didn't really come back with too much, but
No.
boy, that sounds like the huge issue again before the legislature.
well, if you want to kill something, you send it to either a task force or
Yeah.
a study committee. That's where it ends up. But it's a very difficult but necessary thing that they have to face the music, and things have to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from the local option tax issue, anything out of the ordinary that people are voting on in the budget?
Not
Not particularly?
Not particularly. There is a slight change in the dispatching for change there. That's all going to be charged to the town. Oh, not all. The fire and rescue dispatching is going to be billed by the city of St. Albans to the town. And we'll put it on the general tax, because everybody pays that, town and village residents, and that will pay for the dispatch fees. But if you look at the fire department budget or the rescue budget, there's zero for dispatch fees.
Yeah.
So now the dispatch fees themselves did go up. It's a per capita basis. So it went up about $4 per capita from what it was, but it is a necessary thing. We and I can speak with authority on this because I did my own study back almost 20 years ago, and we cannot do that cheaper.
All right. You're talking dispatching now?
Dispatching. Yeah, and
In other words, no crazy idea to try to do it yourself.
no, the days of the old red phones
Yeah,
are gone. And then we were faced with a dilemma when I was on the village board that, we had firemen and their wives sitting at home from church because they wanted to make sure the red phone was covered on a
Really?
Sunday morning. And I said, well, that's got to stop.
yeah.
That's when we entered into the contract with St. Albans City.
You're also a former longtime volunteer with the fire department?
I
Brian?
was, yeah,
You were.
yeah. And so, if we set up the dispatch, if we had our own dispatch center, that's has to be staffed
Oh.
24/7, 365.
Wow.
Plus to buy all the equipment that goes there,
Oh.
including digital recording equipment.
Not
It's
gonna
just-
happen.
Yeah, it's just too expensive.
You think St. Albans City does a decent job with dispatching?
They do I think, a very good job.
Yeah. They got all of Franklin County. Is there like one exception out there or something?
No, I don't think. I think
They got
everybody
pretty
in
much
Franklin. I
everybody?
think everybody in Franklin County,
Yeah.
and they have Milton.
Oh, is that
also.
right?
And they've got Swanton PD now,
Huh.
and it's you can have a great EMS service and fire service and police department, but they need, they're not anything without
Sure.
that dispatch center.
Yeah.
They need that communication,
Yeah.
and so it is, as I said, we just can't do it cheaper.
Yeah. Speaking of the Missisquoi Valley Rescue, there were some questions, I think, not about its services, but some internal issues. I know there have been meetings. Anything to report on that, Joel?
Yes, we have received an update recently from Missisquoi Valley Rescue on actions that they've taken on some of the issues that we brought to their attention.
Yeah.
At this stage, that was received just a couple of days ago. In all fairness, they should answer any questions regarding what they have put out, but
Yeah.
we've been working diligently because our number one concern is making sure that medical services are provided to the residents of Swanton,
Yeah.
and so far, that is exactly what is being done.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's the key for us to focus on that, but we have made them aware of a few concerns, and they've addressed the concerns, and they can speak to the different things that they've done. It's a little too early for us to comment any more than that. At least
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
take on that, yes.
But the concern, as I understand, it wasn't really about the services. I mean,
No,
yeah,
No, there was some minor things
Minor,
that they
but-
found, but they still passed their inspections
Yeah.
and stuff, and the actual service they're providing meets the state requirements.
Yeah.
And we've been pleased with that.
right. One of the ballot items, of course, is seeking a little over 300. Check that, a little over, getting close to 600,000 for police protection. That was a very close vote 2 years ago. Not as close last year, but you're comfortable. I mean, you're comfortable with the budget, and you think townspeople will vote that in?
I'm pretty confident that the townspeople voted in.
Yeah,
Its increase certainly was more than we wanted to see this year, but if
Yeah.
we're gonna have a police force, we have
Yeah.
to pay them something that is comparable,
Yeah.
maybe not as much as some of the local municipalities, so they increased a big part was increase in the budget for payroll. Very happy with the services they're providing. If you take a look in the town report, they provided a lot of detail of the different major events that they've been chasing, drug bust
yeah,
and so on, and each one of those takes a lot of manpower, and I do occasionally get complaints about they don't see them enough riding the roads and so on, but when you make an arrest and that sort of thing, you've got days of paperwork as follow-up and so on. So, overall, pleased with the work that they provide. We meet with them once a month and get an update on the different things that they're doing, and we're pleased, and I asked them recently about the 2 vacancies that they have, and they feel by July 1st that they should have both of those vacancies filled, so
Yeah.
that'll be a great step.
and gee, it sounds like one of these months they can even look forward to a little less cramped headquarters with village voters a year ago voting for the electric department expansion that'll help out the incredibly cramped police department.
Very much so,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that is an issue that needs to get fixed, and unfortunately, it's gonna be, another year and a half probably before the building's done, and then
Yeah.
they make the other changes, but
Yeah.
yes, get that building started, and then people see it's happening, and much better environment for the police to work in and to handle cases and evidence and everything else, including parking their vehicles.
Yeah, 2 different ballot items for the library. Is that typical of the
That's
2?
typical.
Yeah.
It's the way the accounting works. There's the library operating budget, and then there's sort of a separate appropriation for the library. So and that's typical. And it's so there's 2 separate items, and basically, it's one budget is for the salary and benefits and of the facility, and then the library. The smaller budget is the amount that is what the library board of trustees requests for operating. They underwrite a fair portion of it. But the smaller amount that they're lacking, and there was a carryover in with the library funds, so that helped this year, and so it was. But yeah, that's very typical.
The larger number is payroll and
Payroll
facility
and
maintenance.
facility
Yeah.
maintenance.
There was agreement made with the library a few years ago to make things work a little better between how the building's maintained and
Yeah.
so on, and it's working
Yeah.
quite well. A
Right.
lot of improvements in the
Right.
library in the last year.
Was there an issue with the library of an outside group? Seems like there was some controversy about the use of part of the building, or am I dreaming that? Seems like I remember.
Well, that was a couple of years
Something,
ago with
yeah.
King's Daughters.
the
Oh, that
King's
sounds
Daughters.
right.
Yeah, well, the King's Daughters originally built the library
Oh,
way
really?
back in 1905.
Huh.
And they weren't able to afford. That's how the town ended up acquiring title to the property,
Huh.
because the King's Daughters were unfortunately phasing out and could no longer afford to keep the building up.
Huh.
It was a beautiful building, the way it was done, and it was an addition put on back in the mid-'90s. And it's a very nice facility, but they just weren't able to keep it really in good repair and whatnot. So, and then the town did take title to it, and we had to catch up on a few things for maintenance, but we got things pretty well set now. So.
And I feel the library's in pretty good shape. You got a good library.
Building-wise, yeah.
Building wise, there's only a few things left to correct, but major improvements to the HVAC, major insulation project that took place this year. So we got a few other things. Our elevators being has been for several years.
Several years of problem.
Issues getting it fixed, but we're working on that, and overall a very sound building. And then the activities that take place in the library, they're great. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people going to the library and different activities.
Right.
We have different rooms that they do some different events besides just people reading the books and things. So it's very it's like a little community center.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Very a lot of activity going on.
Yeah. The town hall, is the town hall building wise in decent shape?
Well-
not a young. It's in there the other day.
It's
of course.
old.
Waiting to see how he answers
How,
this
how,
one.
how old is that building?
Well, it's getting close to I believe the front part. It was my understanding it was built in probably about 1830.
Right, 1830.
Yeah, the front and then the back half was added on later. Not sure when. It's definitely showing its age, and we are looking at we're having what's called a blow test done. Vermont Gas, where we heat the building with gas, and they're
Yeah.
going to do a blow test on town meeting day because we're not there. And
With the village, glad you mentioned that, voting at the village municipal
that's right.
complex.
Yes.
7 to
Yeah.
7.
Yep. And so that's to see where the heat is escaping
Oh, yeah.
and whatnot. And then see about possibility of further insulation or some way with which we can make it warmer downstairs. There is a possibility, I mean, there's a distinct possibility, probably going to have a bigger heating system than what we have, because we've had now 4 people go down and say that's not big enough, 4
Really?
separate people.
Any talk of a new building at this point, or not not now?
No.
Last thing you want to
No.
think about?
That's physically,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
very solid building.
Oh, it's solid,
With some insulation and HVAC improvements, that thing will last for another 100
Yeah,
years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a historical structure. The gentleman from the gas company in his report said it's a historically significant but highly energy inefficient.
That sounds like that's well put.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's, things can be done to change that.
Yeah.
I mean, that
yeah.
used to be a ball court up on the second floor.
Really?
And
I've never even been upstairs here.
Yeah, it was a little small ball court, similar to
Really?
you'd see in towns at the time, and we use that to store documents.
storage.
It can't be used, there's issues with putting any type of load as far as people and that sort of thing, so we use it for some storage, but there's very little insulation right between those 2 floors.
Oh, yeah.
We between getting the windows where there's less draft and stuff and some insulation and change the heating system, it'd be
Yeah.
much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Right now, there's some of the rooms, including Brian's office area on a 0-degree
gets-
morning. can
Not
be a
not the
little-
warmest room, huh?
That's why I'm wearing the vest, and I should have taken it off. But
It's
anyhow.
been the town hall for many years.
Many years.
Yeah.
That building, the building behind it, the old Swanton High School building, the old school
Yeah.
that is now the senior citizen apartments, that was built in 1912.
Wow.
And at some point, there was, I think, the town offices, I read somewheres that the town clerk's function was actually up on the second floor, and there was some school still going on in the bottom.
Really?
Yeah, so it's been the town offices for a long time. Yeah.
We certainly talk probably every show about the recreation situation, the rec center. Ideally, talk about a new rec center, community center, or a renovated one. What's the latest with that, Joel?
The latest, we're making some slow progress. We've talked with engineer and an architect. We're trying to get a plan-in figure. We have a number now that, until we meet between the rec board and the select board, I don't want to throw that number out.
Yeah.
But we have a number to say for a 10,000 square foot building, this is what it's going to cost. And planning number, because that could be plus or minus 20%.
Yeah.
But are we going to go forward? Because now we can seek some grant money, get some basic drawings done. And it's basically looking for an indoor ball court, elementary sized gymnasium with a few offices and some storage area. Pretty basic facility.
And again, this would be a new building, or
This would be a new building. We don't have a building large enough. There was some talk of the Swanton Armory when they build the new armory for St. Albans and Swanton, of possibly going after that building. Turns out that one is something we'd have to pay fair market value for, but it wouldn't even necessarily be available for many more years. They haven't even started design on the new armory. And that's all based, getting a lot of that's federal money, so that's going to be many years before that even become available. So we discussed it a few months ago, said let's go ahead and take a look at doing a 10,000 square foot building. So that's what we want to work toward, and we're going to meet with the rec board fairly soon and discuss it in a little more detail, and then go after some grant money and look at other sources of revenue to cover the cost of the building.
Well, you've been wrestling with that for
Too
quite a
long.
while.
Too
Too long.
long.
You got a ways to go.
Got a ways to go. They need the space. I'm a big advocate, and I think several other board members are too, that we need additional space for rec.
Sounds like the Nicole Draper, of course, your colleague on the select board, the rec director, but sounds like a very active recreation program you have going.
Very active recreation program between, the typical soccer and the typical Little League that takes place on the fields, the summer camps they hold in different activities. You can go there on a summer day and see 80 kids running around and so on, and very little indoor space for them to go in inclement weather and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of demand for courts in the winter. It's hard to get time at the schools. We do have courts at the 2 elementary schools and then up at the high school, but they're all booked up with all the different activities. So they feel pretty comfortable, and they did a feasibility study that there's enough of a demand to, get the usage up. If we build it. And I think it's one of those, it may start out a little slow, and as people are aware that they can do other things indoors, there's different events, volleyball, different things you can do, that more people will use it. So definitely want to see it happen.
What best case scenario time frame? Is it conceivable by this year sometime there'd be real movement on that, or does that sound like a stretch?
I think in 2026 there could be some real movement.
Yeah.
But you're still talking, you take another year to design it, and then a year and a half to build it. It's not a real complicated building, but talking with the architect and engineer the other day, Vermont has some very strict energy rules now when you build a new building. So those are things we would have to meet, and that drives the cost up significantly. This isn't someone the other day, well, just buy a metal building, put it on a foundation, and you're all set. Well, it's
not that simple.
No.
Could the LOT money, would that qualify as a capital project, or is that?
It certainly would
Certainly will.
qualify as a capital project.
Yeah.
So that would definitely help the decision process if we're successful in getting the LOT, and then looking at the different projects that we have lined up over the next 10, 20 years and see whether or not that could be used to fund some of it.
Yeah. Any other projects kind of that magnitude that you're dealing with down the road? That's certainly a big one.
Well, on the highway side, big project, and we don't, at this stage, we have other ways we plan to fund it, is we have about a $750,000 culvert we got to replace on a very short section of road up on French Hill.
$3 million?
No, $750,000.
Sorry, three.
But that's,
Sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
That's still a lot of.
That's a lot of money.
Sounds like that's just been a really tough section of town to deal with highway-wise.
Oh, yes, we just completed a very significant project that feeds just a few residents, but a very dangerous situation for our snowplow drivers and stuff. And we basically dropped the road almost 9 feet.
Really?
Changed the elevation of it. That we've, over the years, have had trucks flip over on their side
Oh,
there,
right.
and finally said it's time to get it done. But this culvert, a few years ago with that Halloween storm, it's about an 8-foot culvert, got plugged and washed both sides, but what we saw, the bottom of that culvert is just all rusted out. It needs to be changed. The state rules on the size you need to replace it, we just can't put the same size culvert in. It needs to be almost a 30-foot clear for the water to run underneath it in the worst case scenario.
Wow.
So that's driven the cost up significantly.
And you hope you'll get that done this year, or is that is that some town money, but mostly outside money, hopefully?
Majority of the town money.
Is that right? Majority town money?
Yeah, the design is done. We were able to get a grant and get the design done, because it's not a real sophisticated design.
Wow.
But the construction money, the state has a structures grant program that we can get some money from them. There is another program, but it would be several years out, and it's got federal money tied to it, and that just is a whole nother issue. As a board, we've decided that our best bet is to figure out how within the highway budget over a course of a couple of years to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's the way we're moving ahead. So if we get that structures grant, we'll know in about 3 months if we to get the structures grant. Then we don't it'll be too late to probably bid it this year. By that time, you start bidding in the June timeframe for
Yeah.
construction projects, you're gonna get very high prices. We're better off to just bid it late in the fall and be ready when the frost is out of the ground in 2027.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, big project. Rest area, I hear references to a future rest area off the interstate or maybe on the median, I'm hearing, Swanton Highgate area. Any news on that?
Not
Ryan?
that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I'm not dreaming that. That's come up.
No,
It's come up.
it's come up. The last idea I heard was to put it between the northbound, southbound.
Yeah, I think I heard the same thing.
And, but we have not really seen anything or heard anything about that.
Yeah.
And I've been someplace where, and I can't remember where it was, that the rest areas were like that.
I can flash over to I-87 in New York.
Yeah.
And maybe
it could have
somewhere
been,
near some of
yeah.
those are in the median.
Because people said, I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
Oh, yeah, those
seen
service
them.
centers
Yeah,
on I-80.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we haven't heard anything. I heard it would be just north of the Swanton exit. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's,
We'll see.
yeah.
Field days back in the news. It sounds like Franklin County Field Days has found at least a temporary home for a while in Swanton.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
good news.
Well, did you see that coming? That kind of came out of the blue to me, I guess, but I know they had been looking for sites.
They came and talked to us, and they asked for a letter of support, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the select board was fully behind having the field days, but we hadn't heard any update. I hadn't heard it till I read it in the messenger.
Yeah, one of the TV stations gave it some attention the other day, but not a lot of details. But
Yeah.
and this is kind of right behind Tractor Supply.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Hubbard Lane, the road that goes
Right.
between Tractor Supply and Total Home Center, which
Yeah.
is a Swanton Town road, by the way.
In fact, I was gonna. I think you told me something I didn't know. Imagine that the other day. The Tractor Supply is in the town of Swanton.
Right. And an employee in our office bought us major ticket or major expenditure over the weekend at Tractor Supply, and we calculated, made sure they only paid the 6%.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Tractor Supply
Right.
was collecting the St. Albans tax.
Yeah, you told me
yeah,
that.
because the state told them to.
Right.
And they, but they're okay. But it is going to be behind there. I don't know the specifics, just how many acreage and whatnot. But I do have a meeting Monday morning with Ferdinand Gagne, who's the head of the board
Yeah.
of directors. He was going to come in and start talking about it and see what their plans are. I guess they're planning on having the demolition derby, which a lot of people like and enjoy seeing. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Is it clear? I mean, the Field Days folks put so much work into the site by the airport. I mean, a lot of buildings. Do those buildings, are they going to have to remove those buildings? I forget if I asked you that the other day. Is it clear what happens with the former site?
Yeah, I don't know if the buildings are still there.
Yeah.
If they're just going to leave them there, I'm not sure what the state plans were for those. They're not going to have any buildings on the new site
No, yeah.
immediately.
Okay.
They're just leasing it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a 3-day event, but they are able to. They've figured a way of putting down some fabric, and then with crushed stone, they'll be able to have the demolition derby.
Really? Interesting.
That's the plan, anyhow. But no mention of what they're going to do with the existing buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that was all part of the lease.
I would think
And-
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said that no permanent electrical right now. Each vendor has to provide their own generator, whatever
Yeah.
source of power. So right now it's getting it started and see how it goes. And
Interesting.
hopefully,
And that
every
same
year-
terrain, Joel, the future site, Vermont National Guard, they're looking in the future to be not too far from there, correct?
Yeah, they would be just east of the new state garage up there.
Okay.
Yes.
But again, years away. We're not talking seeing them there for a number of years.
No, No, again, they gotta get the federal money, and
Yeah.
a facility of that size, you're talking a year or better to design it,
Yeah.
and then a couple years to construct it, so I don't see that, well, we're in 26 now, 2030, 2031.
Uh,
Yeah.
Speaking of the national, as I think of it, isn't the legislature, did I miss that vote? I think that vote on the new adjutant general is coming up.
This week,
This
I
week, in
almost
fact.
wanted to Google it today, because
Okay, I just
I'm
happened to
pretty
think
good
of that.
friends with one of the ones running,
Oh,
and
really?
wanted to see how he's doing.
I think I've heard them both on radio, so
Yes.
so one of the folks you know well.
Know very well. Worked for me for a couple of years, and
Really?
we've conversed back and forth on several very serious issues, and I wish him
Huh.
all the best
Interesting.
and success.
Adjutant General Knight stepping down. Good job for him. You sorry to see, but he did a good job. You think for the?
Oh, I
Guard?
think he did a very good job for the
Yeah.
Vermont Guard as a total between the Army and the Air, and
Yeah.
I think a well-deserved retirement after the number of years that he put in.
Yeah.
I worked with Greg Knight several years
Yeah.
prior to him being the Adjutant General, and
Yeah.
did a lot for Vermont.
And of course, Vermont, I guess the only state where the legislature makes that appointment, right? The only
only
I
one
think the
left.
The only. Oh, is that other states used to do it?
Well, just a couple of years ago, I think it was South Carolina that changed it.
Really?
All the others are appointed by the governor.
Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
We'll see what happens. How's the Guard doing staffing? You probably have some handle on that. Are they struggling
Almost.
like so many businesses with staffing?
It's always been a big challenge in Vermont. Well, I say always. I spent 20 plus years there, and
Wow.
it's always been a challenge in regards to the population size of Vermont.
Yeah.
Then you've got the restrictions with drug use,
Huh.
and then you tattoo issues and things. And when you start looking at all that, then there was a problem just getting into the schools to talk to the folks in this
Really?
state, and that made it very difficult.
Is that
for the
right? That
recruiters.
wasn't easy to do that even, huh?
No,
Really?
there was certain school districts and so on that
Huh.
weren't real favorable towards
Is that right?
recruiters coming into their buildings. And
Interesting.
made it very tough, because the Guard offers a lot of opportunity,
Yeah.
different skill training and so on for
Yeah.
people of the state.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are tattoos okay these days? Are they
The
loose?
rules have changed some, and I'm not an expert on it, but they've changed some. But
Not
there's
not an
still
issue
some
you had to worry about, I guess, huh?
Oh no, I'm well retired.
I meant the reference to tattoos, but anyway.
Oh,
So
right.
they've eased up some of the rules or whatever.
Yeah, to some
Yeah,
extent,
to
yes.
some extent.
Yeah.
LVRT, Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. Did you do some work on the Swanton end of that? I know there were plans to. Did that happen or will
The
that
whole
happen?
trailhead, and that was Joel's project.
Yeah, Joel, you spent a lot of
he-
Lamoille Valley
it's-
Rail
it's
Trail.
complete
Paved
for-
parking area, the picnic pavilion, shelter,
shelter.
a cover for a porta-john,
Huh.
a privacy fence, couple 100 feet long, so that between the residents and the lights that.
And this
people
work
driving-
has been done. This
It's
is
done. Project complete.
Oh, I gotta
You
get
need
up
to check
there.
it out.
I'll check
We
it out.
wanted to have a grand opening in the fall, but the roofing material was delayed and delayed and delayed. They
And of
finished
course,
on,
you were
like,
unlucky
December
before that
1st.
with the flooding when the governor and
Yeah.
Senator
Right,
Sanders
for
at
the-
least were going to show.
Right, but the actual facility is done. That was a
Oh, yeah.
fairly large project, and
Huh.
I mentioned earlier about federal funds. This was a grant from the state, but it was federal money involved, and
Yeah.
a lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork.
But
But not much local money, or no, all outside, or mostly outside money?
We put aside the 20% matching out of the
Okay.
ARPA funds. When the ARPA funds first came out,
Yeah.
we said, this is the project we want to do.
Yeah,
So we did not have any increase or anything paid for by the taxpayer. It was just out of the ARPA funds.
And
yeah,
it's getting use.
Yeah.
Even this weather, there was 4 cars there yesterday morning when I went by. I swing by
Huh.
before I go down to the office. I
Yeah.
swing by to make sure everything is okay. And there were 4 cars there. They meet and go for a walk or whatever. And in the nicer weather, there was cars there almost all the time.
We're talking snowmobilers, of course, too, correct?
Correct.
And
Yes,
Vastas has been a
Vasta,
key.
yeah.
Vermont Association of
Yeah.
Snow Travelers has
Right.
been a
They can
key
use it.
organization with the rail trails.
The parking area is made large enough.
Oh.
You can get a few, not too many, but you can get pickups with a trailer
Yeah.
into the
Oh,
parking
great.
lot fairly
Yeah.
easily and ride the trail. There are some years where there's very little snow, but
Right.
this year certainly there's enough
Certainly
snow if
Yeah.
a
snow,
snowmobiler
yeah.
wants to use the trail.
Yeah. Did you notice much traffic over the summer with bikers? Was it?
Well, every
did you-
time I went up there
Yeah.
for a couple of, not a lot of times, but I was up, actually went, and we got out, and there was always bikers. Not a lot, but, if you stood there probably for an hour, see them go by,
Right.
there may have been a few. So it was getting certainly used.
Yeah.
There was no question.
Interesting, there was one day, I had to meet somebody over in the village parking lot, park and ride. And construction was still going on in the LVRT parking area. I was talking to
Yeah.
a gentleman from West Virginia who was
Oh.
out to ride the Vermont trails.
Really?
So I had
Wow.
a great conversation with him and yeah. And we're trying to promote as best we can
Sure.
about the facility and what you can do if you get, if you're there, where you can go eat and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
we want to really push hard now that the project is complete.
Yeah. I think isn't that the longest rail trail in New England? Swanton to St. Jay, about what, 93 miles or so?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, that would seem to be a very good resource
Right.
for you.
yeah,
Yep.
it is. And anxious to see as the spring comes and the weather improves, I'm sure it'll be quite active there. It's certainly a big asset now to the community.
Yeah, no, I would think
Nice to
so.
have it, Yeah.
And it's something our rec department can set up, with some of the younger kids, just a short distance riding up the trail and coming back and some different activities. There's picnic tables there. There's power there if you want to get a speaker system
Oh,
to
yeah.
address some people. So there's
Huh.
some opportunities there to up the usage besides just the folks going
Yeah.
long distance.
Right.
The site of the old town garage, what are we talking on that site by Mary Babcock? Is that
Oh, that's been an ongoing project.
right? Seems like I've asked you about that before.
Well, we've had hopefully the last of the soil testing done, and
Oh, so that
and-
we had that issue.
and the engineers have worked up a soil management plan, and which I distributed to the board, and we're reviewing it, and so there's discussion as to what's going to take place there. Probably after town meeting, we'll
It's another
See
meeting with the rec board.
yeah, it's going to be a rec facility of some sort there.
Yeah, I'm going to elaborate just a little bit.
Yeah.
Going into the soil management plan, the idea is to have a couple small fields.
Yeah.
It's not a very large lot, so you could have a couple t-ball fields, a couple
Yeah.
small soccer fields. But what we have to do under the soil management plan is basically put 18 inches of sand and topsoil on the existing site.
Oh, yeah.
So that is what we're gonna do. We did discuss at the last select board meeting, that rec building we're talking about, does it go into the lower parking lot near the rec fields? Or does it go on this site? Most likely, we'll probably end up in the lower parking lot, but we're gonna have the discussion that it might go on this site. And if it goes on this site, then the material we excavate for the foundation has to go to a approved landfill area at a very high expense.
Is it out of state even, or?
Yeah, I think there's one in Vermont that could take it, but some of them are in New Hampshire, so you got that travel time
Wow.
and some serious cost. So we'll see. But yeah, we definitely are finally to the stage
Yes.
where we're gonna make progress and do something with that site.
Some of these issues don't go quickly. Take a
Well,
long time. Huh?
I've been working on this ever since
Since day one, or since
I
level one?
started.
Really?
So that's 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spent
Wow.
many years at the Air Guard, Plattsburgh Air Force Base on environmental issues and
Is that right?
cleanups, and it's, you get your first set of data sent in to the appropriate agency, and they come back and they want more testing, and then you send a second, and they may even still want more. And then you've got to come up with these plans, and they have to approve it, and their time reviewing and getting back is generally very slow. You
Yeah.
have to call them up, and Brian has had to make several phone calls to get answers of when are we gonna see something on the report we sent you.
Well, that brings me back to old radio days, Joe, with Plattsburgh Air Force Base closing, a huge issue with the base closure committee. As I recall, and tell me if I'm correct, didn't the Department of Defense want to keep Plattsburgh Air Force Base and maybe expand it, or am I dreaming that? But
You're not dreaming. I was an engineer over there at the
Were you
time.
really?
Oh, yeah. I
Wow.
was in the Navy Reserve and in the Air National Guard, but I was at Plattsburgh as an engineer.
Wow,
I did a lot of the work on that whole thing.
really?
And,
But the base closure committee, that was one of the,
yeah, the DOD was going to move planes from a couple other
Really?
places up to Plattsburgh. At the
Wow.
time, the number now would be probably 4 times or more. We had over $80 million of projects,
wow,
because that is one of 5
wow.
Air Force bases where the apron is as large as it is.
Huh.
The Air Force definitely wanted it, but
Huh.
there were politics involved with the closure committee and a couple of the issues they brought up.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was,
Anyway,
I could spend 2 hours talking to
I
you
bet,
about that.
I bet you can. Route 78, isn't there supposed to be work one of these
One of
years
these
on Route
years, there'll be
78?
some work.
Does that keep getting pushed back? Or?
Well, I know they're still negotiating with landowners for rights of way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly where that's standing, and we haven't heard anything further. So to show you how government agencies don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
We had 2 property owners down on 78 that took advantage of the FEMA buyout, and we just closed on December 8th on one.
Were there more than 2 eligible? Or?
Oh, they were all eligible.
Oh, really? Just 2?
Well, 3 total, but 2
Oh, yeah.
on that stretch of road.
Huh.
And so we were all set. They're ready to have the closing, and then they saw where Agency of Transportation had bought this person's, the additional right-of-way for the improvements to 78. Well, that created they said, well, is the state going to be developing that? They're not supposed to be developing that, and they're going on and on. It delayed the closing. Finally, so I said, well, you're going to encounter that all the way down this road. They ought to talk to each other. But no, we have not heard anything, and other than that we know that they're still negotiating with property owners down through, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where that stands. I know one of the major property owners is definitely, I think, they're not at all happy with the offer that was made, so,
Yeah.
See how, as it progresses.
Yeah, I logged about 5 years out that way on Lakewood Drive, and still get out there once in a while. But whenever I see just a bike rider along there, with this work that finally gets done, would there be a shoulder? Would there be a little more space for bikers?
There will be shoulders and there will be bikers.
Right.
The S curves, I believe, stay where they are. I mean, they'll probably widen them, but. Again, that's between the Department of Interior with the Wildlife Refuge and the state, and but the shoulders will be wider, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been quite a few years now since I've seen the plan. I was in the legislature when I saw the plan.
Really?
Then there was a hold up because they needed the town to sign off on easements. Because where our town roads intersect.
Yeah.
And they sent that to me, I think they were probably the first year I was working there, and I'm looking at the plans, and I said, well, the streets that you want us to sign off on are village streets, and we can't even do that. So, they didn't know that, so they had to redo that. So it's coming, I think, very slow, but hopefully we'll see it. Canadian traffic clearly down. I see stats once in a while, but with Canada not feeling real happy about the U.S. these days. Is that noticeable to you, anecdotally even, Joel, just fewer Quebec plates around here?
I would say definitely fewer Quebec plates. Haven't heard too much from the merchants about it, more what I've read about it. When we had our gathering in the park this year. There was some discussion amongst folks about the traffic and so on, but not too bad as far as impact.
Yeah.
It
Truck
just-
traffic, I think the hope was with the improvement in roads north of the border, that might help out, might lessen truck traffic going through Swanton a bit. And he doesn't see.
I haven't seen it.
No, I don't think until they change the border crossing
Yeah.
to make it more trucker friendly
Yeah.
up in Highgate that you're going to see a big. It's a lot easier now to get there with
Yeah.
what they've done, but it's not really set up for the heavy truck traffic yet.
I had that discussion with another reporter the other day, and I said, well, it depends. I would think that and I don't frequently go to Montreal, but if you're on the West End, I still think it would be quicker just to go right down 15 and cross in Champlain.
Yeah.
Whereas you go from that point to the Champlain Bridge, the traffic can be a nightmare.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. I can get up to Champlain Bridge in an hour and then maybe another
Yeah.
almost hour to get out to the airport
right.
if I'm going
Yeah.
out to the airport.
So, and I know time is money
Yeah.
when it comes to trucking, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
So again, your plans for pretty serious work at the border, a much improved border station, port of entry, and supposedly truck traffic will fare better when they make those improvements. Is that the hope anyway?
I would think so.
Yeah,
You
that
got
was-
to have the capacity
Yeah.
to get them through.
That was
Again,
the
time
plan.
time is money, and
Yeah.
You hearing any time frame? Might we see
No.
no time
Nothing.
frame?
no, we haven't heard anything from them
Yeah.
officially.
Interesting. We've mentioned ARPA a few times, American Rescue Plan. Does the town still have some ARPA money?
No,
No, it's gone.
Well,
It had to be, or had to
officially-
be committed?
officially, it's no longer called ARPA.
No, it wouldn't. No, sorry.
No, that's another, but there's a few dollars left, but it's basically,
Yeah.
we call it special funds, but it's not ARPA. But it's still, we got a variety of funds that are committed still.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we have, this is as of the end of the year, we had a balance left of $133,859, but we still have committed $642,517, so that
Yeah.
took in the projects that we've committed the money to, like
Yeah.
such as the rec center and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still there, but for the most part, once these projects start being done,
Yeah.
it's going to be gone. So, yeah.
we had to take steps to show that it's expended, and then it's now not being ARPA funds, it's
Right.
money that's special funds that we have committed and we're
Right.
keeping track of.
Yeah.
It was quite a shocking situation because, but the Congress had determined that towns had all this money and they couldn't spend it fast enough, and yet it was coming up with this deadline. So they basically said to have each municipality do a resolution stating that they're going to fund their local government operations by the use of that money.
Yeah.
So then you create a surplus, and then,
Yeah.
so this was put on by the VLCT, and the town clerk, Kathy, came and got me one afternoon. She said, "You got to listen to this."
Yeah.
So we're listening to it, and I asked, I said, "So you're saying," yeah, I said, "Well, up to the point, I guess it's okay if Congress says it's okay, but it means otherwise we could go to, you used to be able, you do something like that, you go to prison.
Yeah.
But no, it's okay because Congress said so."
Interesting.
And we had our auditors check it out, and it's
Yeah.
fine, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's,
Again, town meeting not far away, and significant money items for Swanton, the local option tax, a couple of contested races, but Joel, you feel the town's in pretty decent shape these days?
I think the town's in very good shape. The select board works well together, the select board works well with the trustees.
Sounds like you do pretty well with the village folks.
Very, very much so with
Yeah.
village trustees. The discussions we have are very positive. Brian and Bill will meet and discuss issues and help get things worked out before the boards meet, but overall, the actions done are very positive. And then we have the Promote Swanton, which is a couple members of our board, member of the village trustees, working to do different things to rebrand Swanton. We got some nice road signs that we're going to put up. So up by Tractor Supply, you'll know you're entering Swanton right on the corner versus continuing to St. Albans or Sheldon or something. And we got different things we're doing to promote Swanton and make it a little more, make it easier for people to see what we have to offer and to come use the Memorial Valley Rail Trail and the different businesses and eat while they're there and so on. So
Okay, on that note, thanks to Joel Clark, the
Okay.
Swanton Select Board Chairman, Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator. Thanks for your time. Town meeting
Most
day not
welcome.
far away,
Right.
folks. And thanks to producer Alan Cunningham. I'm Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. See you next time.